The Biden administration has a certain type of white male running American foreign policy. I'm thinking specifically here of National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. I'm thinking also of Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. And if you look carefully at these guys and you look at them doing a news conference, doing a press interview, certain characteristics sort of jump to mind, raising the question, what are we actually looking at? So think about a guy like Jake Sullivan. I'm looking at his interview with Nicole Wallace a day or two ago. He's talking about the Taliban, and he's asked straight out, would you call them an enemy? So simple. We've been fighting them for 20 years. This is not a tough question. Jake Sullivan's like, it's hard to put a label on it. And I'm looking at this guy, and it's what he says, but it's how he says it. He's got this kind of weak, effeminate voice. I look at him, he's got these thin strands of hair, like almost pasted onto his head. He's got this pasty face. He's got this kind of weak demeanor, lackluster tie. Anthony Blinken is like a clone of Jake Sullivan. You know, these the whiny boys. This kind of, and here's Blinken. He's talking about the Taliban. And he goes, and then they put all these terrorists in high positions. You know, it's all male. He goes, it certainly doesn't meet the test of inclusivity, and it includes people who have very challenging track records. I'm thinking to myself, where do you find these people, and what am I looking at? Well, I figured out what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the philosopher Nietzsche's Last Man. Nietzsche regarded this last man as being just one step above a kind of insect, an absolutely loathsome, despicable creature. Now, in Nietzsche's philosophy, many people know about the sort of the zenith, Nietzsche's hero. Nietzsche's hero is the Ubermensch, the overman, the brave figure who takes risk and is willing to even put his life on the line, a person of great artistic and creativity. So this is Nietzsche's Superman, if you will, and people know about that, but not as many people know about Nietzsche's opposite, the antithesis of the Ubermensch. And this is the passive nihilist. This is basically the guy, typically male, who's not much of a man at all. And Nietzsche has beautiful descriptions of the last man, which I want to get to. What happens with Nietzsche is he talks about the fact that even though Zarathustra, who is Nietzsche's prophet, offers people the Superman, there's a way for man to sort of rise above himself. The crowd shouts, we don't want that. We don't want the Superman. We want the last man. And so Nietzsche goes, let's look at who this last man is. He says, sometimes a civilization becomes so decayed that it no longer produces real men. I'm quoting Nietzsche now. One day the soil will be so poor and weak that no high tree will be able to grow from it. Again, Nietzsche, the time is coming when man will give birth to no more stars. Stars in the sky. Behold, I shall show you the last man. Now, who is this last man, as Nietzsche describes him? Here's Nietzsche. The earth has become small, and on it hops the last man. This is the insect illusion, who makes everything small. His species is ineradicable as the flea. The last man, he says, is not an individual. He is a type. He's part of a herd. He wants to disappear into the herd. His motivating aspirations are comfort, security. He doesn't want to be bothered. He doesn't want to take any risk. He's not somebody who's brave. He's the opposite of brave. He's stagnant. He sees himself as a victim. In fact, he sees himself as a victim among fellow victims. He's de-individualized. He's pathetic. Nietzsche says that the last man is popular among certain types. He says he's a contemptible type of person that is popular among shopkeepers, cows, females, Englishmen, and other Democrats. Nietzsche using the term Democrats here with the small d. And Nietzsche hates all these people. He hates Englishmen. He's kind of misogynistic. He's not too hot on women. So for Nietzsche, this is a pathetic type, somebody who actually leans to and appeals to the principle of equality. Why? Because in any equal society, a miserable, low creature like this is lifted up. Whereas in an individualistic or meritocratic society, this kind of pathetic individual is left behind. Now, of course, the great irony of all this is that in addition to Anthony Blinken being a last man and Jake Sullivan being a last man, Nietzsche himself was also a last man. Nietzsche himself was never married. He once proposed to someone who rejected him emphatically. There are rumors that Nietzsche was gay. He had no friends. He was entirely raised by women. So this kind of weak, effeminate character, that was also Nietzsche. But I think the difference for Nietzsche is Nietzsche knew that that was a pathetic way to be. And Nietzsche, in his mind, tried to be something bigger, stronger, more heroic than the actual Nietzsche himself. And that's what distinguishes Nietzsche from Jake Sullivan and Anthony Blinken. At least Nietzsche aspired to higher things, but these two pathetic individuals don't.